the accreditation survey process during the survey. This part of the process, again, leading up to it, there's so much work has gone on, so much work has been done. Hopefully, the day that they arrive, you really are prepared, in fact, maybe even excited about the idea of going through survey. I actually used to get pretty excited about going through survey because I felt like I was prepared. I had a sense of I was looking forward to sharing with the survey and then learning from the surveyor. It was kind of exciting, actually, to go through the survey process. The difficult times were sometimes there'd be kind of a panic that would build up before survey. And then when the survey started, there would be almost a hysteria right when it starts, everybody just holding their breath. But for me, I think that, again, being well prepared can make the survey process very gratifying. They'll find something. They always do. But that's okay. And I think that's kind of the attitude you take going into it. So during the survey, they show up, and so let's talk about it. Major survey events. The overview is the opening meeting, document review, the building tour, the daily closing sessions, and the exit meeting. We'll talk about each one of these through this presentation. The opening meeting. Again, that unannounced arrival, that really does get us. Some of you may not know this, but that arrival was announced. We usually knew in advance what day they were coming. They told us, I think typically is a few weeks ahead, that they were coming. That changed a few years ago, where now within a 3-year period they will show up. In fact, they are required to show up now. No, they cannot let 36 months go by. That's the Joint Commission. Again, some of the other accreditation organizations that do annual and otherwise it's different, but with the Joint Commission, it is unannounced, and they're going to show up within that 3-year period. So folks get very, very excited about that. Again, at the opening meeting, you want to make sure that before the organization activation, vacations have been addressed. We had a thing at our facility that when they showed up, there was an announcement overhead saying, our facility would like to welcome the Joint Commission. And that was really a cue for everybody to activate and to go into action while the surveyors were going into their opening meeting. So while they're going to the meeting, we're going to action. Usually those meetings lasted about an hour. So you had about an hour to get running around the building. You talk to your contractors. You're making phone calls to contractors and vendors. You look at your schedules. You went through your projects. Again, usually it was the administrators and the surveyor team in that meeting. And so you would have that little window, that little 1-hour window. It's amazing what you can do with that golden hour. But also, I talked about earlier the survey checklist and staff activities, the Know Thyself lists. Again, these were invaluable. In my organization, I made sure that every department had that list. And then in that 1 hour, we would have 100 to 300 people all going into action, checking little things. And it just made such a big difference, There's so many little things that you can take care of in short order, whether it's clutter or cords or, maybe you can go double check your checklists and make sure documents are where they need to be or should be. Sometimes you can check your egresses real quick to see if someone didn't, accidentally put something outside the door. Again, run through your project. So survey checklist, it's a great thing to do. Again, I'll emphasize it again. I think everyone should have one for that 1 hour that they come in. You also want to make sure that you have, you put radios on your staff. You want to make sure that, you got that ladder, that flashlight, your drawings. You have a work area. The surveyor, very possibly, the surveyors I had wanted to come down to our work area, wanted to be in the maintenance shop. They didn't necessarily want to review documents or talk to you up in that conference room that you gave them. So establish a work area that you're going to bring them to and make sure it's clear and ready for them. Again, the building surveyor, they may or may not come in that opening meeting. I've had situations where the building surveyor, life safety surveyor came several days later and did not come on the first day. In cases like that, it actually bought you more time, which was really nice. The one time it did happen to me, but that's another thing to keep in mind. The building surveyor may not come that day. And in some cases, they may come even late after the main team arrives. I've heard of that as well. So that's kind of a blessing. And it's also kind of a curse because you have to be ready for survey longer than you would typically with everybody else. Document review. This is typically the very first part of the survey process. The surveyor, the building surveyor, will sit in a room. Again, in this case, they're not down in your area, but they're sitting in an office area, and they're reviewing all the documents. They have a plan. They know what they're looking for. And if you've laid it out well, this may last 2, 3, 4 hours, where they go through and they just start looking at everything, and they collect data, and they collect their questions. They may call you down, and they may ask for additional information. They also, you'll probably want to keep an extra copy down in your area as well. And again, they don't want you in there with them. They might ask you to answer a question occasionally upstairs with them from time to time, but typically they're doing this kind of on their own. I did have one surveyor that I was with them quite a bit during that time, and we dialogued back and forth. But during the document review period, this is also an opportunity for you to get some background information on the surveyor related to the home, city, state, work, history, pet peeves, if you want to go searching for that. Although, again, that's not as big of an issue. But it's nice to do some background on how long this person's been a surveyor, things like that. This is useful information, really, for the next section. So during document review, don't waste that time. Use that time to be prepared. Prepare your staff. Okay. The building tour. And this is really, it's almost like everything builds up to the building tour. This is like the big moment. It's the big crescendo. This is where we're really we've really built up to this moment. And really, what we want to be thinking about is right in the beginning is the surveyor relationship. You want to establish from the very beginning a good relationship. This is where you find those common elements. I once had a surveyor that we got along really well. He was from Cincinnati, Ohio. I used to go down to Cincinnati quite a bit, the Seven Hills area, and I knew the area geographically, and I knew some things about that area, and we had a connection right there. I talked about the hospital that he was in. He was part of a larger facility down there that I was familiar with. Again, we made a connection. Talked about the challenges of healthcare, the changes in healthcare, and just had kind of just a very nice relationship, a nice conversation. And to be candid, I think that really benefited that survey process quite a bit. Also, you want to be very teachable. They really do. There are peers now an awful lot, and they often are retired or near retirement, and they really want to just help. And they're not going to be perfect, and they don't expect you to be perfect. But they want you to be teachable. They want you to be able to, ask questions and listen to what they have to say. They really want to share their knowledge. And I think that's an important part of this, is to let them share their knowledge, even if you're wondering if it's even right. At that moment, it's not the time to necessarily to really argue with them about what they're saying. Carry the ladder, the flashlight, the clipboard, the radio. Make their time convenient for them. You want to make sure that that you're making it easy for them. This is a big job for them. They got a lot of hours after all that they're doing to write up a report and summarize. This is going to be a very, very long week for them. Again, never argue, but ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. And address issues on the spot as quickly as possible. This is where, if your staff's on radio and you see something, or the surveyor sees something, and you can get that done while they're even there, just be Johnny on the spot. They love that reaction and action. When you take care of issues right away. As you're talking and walking, be willing to share those performance improvement stories. As you're talking, kind of natural conversation. And if they point out something that they observed that ties to something that you've done, tell the story. Set those stories up. You know what they're going to look for. Tie a story to something they're going to look for. Have your staff prepared for the same stories. They do love to talk to staff, and they get used to talking to managers and directors and leaders a lot. They really get more inspired when staff can tell a story. That just makes their day. They go back and they show with everybody something that the environmental services person said, or the security person said, or the maintenance person said. They love those stories more than anything. And take copious notes. Have that binder and just take note after note. One thing that you notice, it's funny when you're going through survey and doing the tour, you see things you never saw before. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been down a corridor and I'll see something that I never ever saw before because my mind is so focused at that moment, and I write that down, and I'll have a list of things that the surveyor said. I have a list of things that I found, and I have all this stuff afterwards. That again, it's just amazing what you see when you're on a building tour with a surveyor. It's a great opportunity, and again, it can be very intense. And believe me, people are running and hiding in front of you when they see you coming. It's just it's a unique experience. The daily closing meetings. This is kind of neat. At the end of the day, they'll get together, and you're not always invited to these meetings. However, sometimes you are. But the survey team and the administrators or the accreditation team will get together, and they will talk at the end of the day about their findings and their sightings. This can be a very intense time, and sometimes it can be it can be a great time because sometimes the commendations start already. The survey will say, "Hey, we spent time with so and so, and it was you just want to tell you what a great job that person is doing." And that's always wonderful. That's a wonderful opportunity. It's an opportunity to ask surveyors for anything additional needs. I mean, it's basically anything else we can do to make your life easier, if you will. You're going to want to consult with that organizational survey team after that meeting, and be prepared. This is where sometimes your day has been a long day, and you're about to find out about how you're about to go into overtime. In a significant way to take care of some issues. And I've had a couple surveys out there where that's happened, where nearly all-nighters have occurred because of the findings that have occurred, not necessarily directly related to my area, but, or possibly directly related to my area, that it caused a lot of extra time. The exit meeting. Again, similar to the daily meetings, again, it really is. It's taking everything and pooling it all together. They're summarizing the findings. They're starting to lay out their survey action plans and things that need to be taken care of. You really want to be listening to what they found, because sometimes you'll be surprised what is tied to facilities that on first blush you didn't think was tied to facilities, and that you're going to need to get more involved and help others solve their problems. I mean, we get very focused on our environment and our codes, our standards, our elements of performances. And sometimes we miss the fact that we're tied into other folks. And in some cases, we're not even tied into other folks. They just really want our support. And when you have your own list of things, that can be a little challenging. But be listening for those things that might be pulling you in to another world. And also, at these exit meetings, very candidly, it's not uncommon for them to really make commendations of folks that they worked with while they were there. And I believe that if you follow kind of my advice here, or you lay this out, or the way I've talked about it, and you build that great relationship, you will get a commendation from the surveyor. And that's always wonderful to hear in front of your administration and your reports.